Afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our last Clackamas Fire Board of Directors meeting for the summer, 2024. It's August 19th, 2024. We're here at Station 5, the Mount Scott Station. At Clackamas Fire District, we're always here for you. We value our people and the people we serve. Our focus is establishing teams, trust, empowerment, accountability, mindset, and service. If you're attending in person, please sign in on the sheet next to the door. The regular monthly meeting of Clackamas Fire District Board of Directors will now come to order at 5:01 p.m. for ORS 192.610 to 192.690 per ORS 192.650. This meeting is being recorded. The video recording of the meeting will be placed on the Clackamas Fire District's website. So please stand and face the flag and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. First up is changes to the agenda. Are there any changes to the agenda, Chief?
Nope, the agenda is as stands.
Okay. Well, thank you. Approval of the minutes of the regular board meeting from July 15th, 2024. Does any board member have any comments or changes to share on those minutes?
No.
Okay. If there's no changes, the minutes for the regular board meeting of July 15th, 2024 stand approved as written. Public comment. I'll now call for statements from citizens regarding district business. Did anyone sign up?
No.
So does anyone have any public comment that's here? Okay. If there is someone who did not have a chance to sign up prior to the meeting that's online and you have a public comment, please use the raised hand function at the bottom of your screen. If you're calling in, you can select *9 to indicate a raised hand, and *6 to unmute and mute. Each person will have up to 3 minutes to share their question or comments. So no one? Okay, so we're good. Thank you. First up, then on the agenda is introductions, new fire positions. Looks like we have 3 new fire positions at the fire district, and we'll meet you.
Can I just give a little piece to this? Thank you, Jim. We just got better as an organization with 3 individuals that are stepping in to be part of the family. I'm super excited to introduce you to. We'll start off with Morgan West, and then after Morgan, we'll go to Alicia King, and then we'll go to Tyler Hoffitz. But just super excited. They're just going to tell a little bit about themselves, what their function is in the organization, and whatever else they'd like to discuss. So with that, if you're okay, if we bring up Morgan West first.
Is it okay to stay here?
Perfect. Yeah, you good with that?
Members of the board. Good afternoon, Chief. Thanks. My name is Morgan West. I am the district's new community resilience officer beginning week 3 with you today. I'm a resident of Clackamas County. I live in Lake Oswego with my wife and 3 kids, and come to the organization from a number of different positions in the military, public safety, law enforcement, professional firefighting, and I'll be working under Chief Stewart. So I'm very happy to be here. Thanks.
Welcome. What are the duties of the resilience officer, just so we know? That's a new term to us.
It's a broad ranging, it's about as many as we got syllables here in the title, but I think that I've been working on my elevator speech for this, sir, and the portfolio is really encapsulated best in forming strong relationships with our own internal people, members of the public, and our partner organizations. I think one of the primary functions that I'll be working on immediately is developing the district's internal incident management team. Beefing up our plans around critical events like active shooter response, for example, and other super high acuity, low frequency type incidents. So that's just a slice.
Okay.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, welcome.
One of the small backgrounds, and he always is humble about this, but Morgan was in the Secret Service for some time in his career. So just super stoked to have him on with us. Now, super stoked about Alicia. Go on ahead, Alicia.
Hi, I'm Alicia Kane. I'm the new community paramedic working alongside Neil. I'm a California native, born and raised in San Luis Obispo, California. I moved here in 2022 from Eastern Oregon. I obtained my EMT in Eastern Oregon and graduated from OHSU in 2023 with my associates in paramedicine. I was also a nurse's assistant for 8 years prior to getting into EMS, so I have a lot of experience working in different emergency rooms in the state. When I'm not here, I work as needed at both adult and pediatric trauma hospitals in Portland. So I have a lot of experience working with vulnerable populations, mental health, and opioid crisis patients. I'm also getting my bachelor's degree in emergency services administration with a minor in psychology. So I consume a lot of information about community risk reduction and safety and risk management. So I'm really happy to be here and I'm honored to be a part of the EMS division expansion.
Welcome.
Thanks, Alicia. Thanks, Alicia. Any questions about Alicia? So this has been a long time in the making. This has been something that the Division Chief Huffman's been working on post-levy. This was all part of a lot of what you asked, Marilyn, was what's next here. And it's just exciting for Rick, for the whole entire organization, for us to be able to start to grow there, and also to get the caliber of individual that we got with Alicia. So just super excited. So
Thank you.
Yeah.
So you must have started working in the medical since your middle school?
Younger than I look.
Or always?
I've been in healthcare and emergency medicine in the ER since I was about 18, as long as I can remember. So I love it.
Very good, well, welcome.
Thank you.
And it's not just because she's from California, she's brought home here, okay? If you notice a little bit of a connection here. Three of us, you're not, but the three of us. Okay, next, you're gonna recognize the last name of Hoffnitz.
I was going to ask.
Don't judge him yet, Thomas.
Tyler has been in and out of this organization since you were 15, yeah. Explorers, then with the volunteer program, and honestly, since he was born in the organization, coming up in this organization with his dad being here. And so we're super excited to have Tyler here. But Tyler, if you go ahead and introduce yourself and your job function, that'd be great.
Or do you have me follow them? Like, it's kind of hard to tell some of those, but yeah, I'm Tyler Hoffnitz. It's kind of awesome being here. Like, a lot of the people here I've always looked up to. They're the guys my dad worked with, and now I'm gonna be able to work with you guys. And he's just the guy that is my father. You know, now you guys are the people I work with. So it's a little bit different. I'm in the training tech position. Not a new position, unlike these two right here. But it's new to me, and I'm a new person there. So if anything you need, come down and train. I'll be there. Born and raised right here in Clackamas. Clackamas Fire has always protected me and my family, so it's really amazing being here, being able to help everyone utilize their skills and their goals and be the best fire department we can be.
Love that, Tyler. There's so much of, especially when we go through the swearing in ceremony in December for these three to elaborate on, but Dan and Kyle do a really good job of what that training tech means to our organization and setting up, taking down for training, for drills, for the academies. There's just, you talk about unsung hero behind the scenes that really makes things happen. It's that position. And so we're really excited to have Tyler fill that role. And if you are okay as a board, if we can let them go to be with their families.
Sure.
I just really wanted to have them introduce themselves and be able to meet you. Love it. Thank you guys. Appreciate you.
Thank you all.
Nice meeting you.
I see Tyler about board member fire engine driving training. I'll check with you soon. Even one the other way, Nick's busy, I'll take it.
Sounds good. Thank you, everyone.
Alrighty, next up, we have a presentation of board training. Jeff Griffin from Wilson Airgun.
Thank you. Tonight I'm gonna wear two different hats. The first part of this is gonna be from the Oregon Fire Chiefs, which will get you the 2% credit from special districts. And as you know, the rules are you be in the room, but you don't have to be awake, which is a good thing. The second part will be a little bit from us on some other safety issues from WHA. I want to start with a partnership that was forged a year ago between OFCA and SAFE and SDAO. As you know, in 2019, Oregon was one of the states that passed some limited coverage for post-traumatic stress. Currently, 26 states have some version of post-traumatic stress coverage with workers' compensation. And we think that it will follow as cancer has. Today, almost all states have some kind of cancer coverage. Depending on the state, it varies a great deal across the country. What transpired is that when the law came into force, which was January 1st of 2020, I believe, immediately SAFE started experiencing some claims, a fair amount of claims. These claims are different, and they have been a real challenge for them to manage. SAFE has, as all workers' comp carriers do, some very strict rules on how claims come in, how they're managed, and then how they're passed to be evaluated by third-party professionals. Quickly, what we learned is that Oregon Fire Chiefs learned that SAFE had 30 open claims that they felt they had no hope of closing, meaning getting our employees back to work. OFCA met with SAFE. We made a proposal for a beta test program. It was approved a year ago in December. SAFE gave the OFCA $150,000 originally to do 5 different things. OFCA has taken on 4 of those things and is putting 100% of the money into a prevention piece with a partner out of New York called Struggle Well. If you look them up, I think you'll find their name is, remember? Boulder Crest. Boulder Crest was started to help get military individuals that had come home from overseas service healthy and back to work. So far, in our limited experience with SAFE, we've got 8 claims closed, which is unbelievable. The reports that we're getting from other states, nobody's getting these claims closed. In fact, we're starting to do a little bit of work up in Washington. We think they're going to dovetail onto the program. Now, this is a little premature because SAFE has asked to make one more revision, but these are going to be minor revisions. And I brought up a booklet of the 5-step program, and this is really great because it allows you to be a part of the beta test, but you don't have to accept any part of the program if you don't want to. The idea is that we're going to put together a team. Initially, SAFE approved 20 departments to be a part of this. And we had several SAFE employees, claims adjusters, go in and go through the training, and they fell in love with it. In fact, they want to have all of their claims adjusters go through the training with Struggle Well. We have a training coming up for SAFE where we've got, I think, 20 SAFE people that are going to be working through the program. So far, we've put the program on around the state and have had really good success. And you'll see this program offered regularly through this summer, this fall, and this next year. The 5-step program is interesting because the first piece talks about doing a little bit better, a little different job on the pre-hire. There are some people that would love to be in the fire service, but just really are not ready for what the fire service does mentally. So we do a little better drill down on the pre-hire. We do a much better job on the hire orientation. So often we hire somebody, we put them into the ranks, and they don't know the ropes. They don't know all the politics. And then the real focus for us is on the prevention, ongoing regular prevention, training, communication, and getting them through this struggle well program, a 2-day program. The claims management piece, initially SAFE said that they were not going to open the door for us to do that, to be at all involved in the claims, other than how we are currently with you, monitoring, tracking, and trying to get claims closed. Interestingly enough, with the 8 individuals that are back at work and having SAFE already gone through the program, they're going, you know what, we think that it would be a good idea if you were more intimately involved in the claims piece. We don't know yet what that means downstream, but they've opened that door. And then the 5th step is pre-retirement. What we've learned over the years is that our fire people are going 1,000,000 miles an hour on Monday. Tuesday, they're retired and they've lost their identity. And we get a huge suicide rate. And we have a significant number of firefighters that are retired that are really struggling with all the things they saw and did throughout their career. The cool part of this program, and where SDAO is very vested in it, is it allows us to weave in the risk management we've talked about over the years, developing just culture, continuous improvement, teaching decision-making and critical decision-making in compressed time. So as you glance through here, you'll see throughout it, this doesn't just impact workers' compensation, it impacts all aspects of our organization. So we're pretty excited about it. The cool thing is that initially I hinted that they were going to have 20 fire departments be a part of this. You were first on the list. The list is out. And here in the next few days, SAFE is going to reach out and say, do you want to be a part of this? You have the right to say yes or no. There's no reason to say no, and I'll tell you more about that in just a second. But what happened is SAFE sat through the program, read through what we're doing, read some of the policies and procedures and trainings we're doing. And they said, you know what, we want to expand it to some cities. So we're bringing in 6 cities. They want cops to go through this. And when we do the cop training, and I know we're being recorded, we just speak a little slower. Can you erase that out of the recording? Okay. But that's not good because I may get tickets on the way home now. But several cities are going to be involved. They are going to be asked. And 3 state agencies. SAFE has asked that 3 state agencies be allowed to be a part of this program. That's huge. What does it mean to you? A, there's no commitment on any parts of this 5-step program that you have to do. What we're trying to do is gather policies, learn from each other, and enhance and raise the bar in all aspects of safety and risk management. The great thing is being part of it. It allows us more leverage at renewal time to argue in your behalf for better rates, and that's the long term. Sincerely, the one reason for this program is to get our people healthy here at work and healthy at home with their families. So we're pretty excited about it, and you are at the top of the list. There are another 18, 20 fire departments, and then some state agencies and some cities are going to be invited to be on a part of this beta test. Already SAFE is hinting that this is something we need to do statewide with all agencies. So we're very excited about that. Take a look. There's going to be some refinements and we'll be rolling that out here in the next week or two when SAFE gives us the final check off. And at that point, you'll see SAFE's logo on the front, which they're very protective of, and the Oregon Fire Chiefs, and it's supported by SDAO. Any thoughts or questions or concerns?
Way to lead from the front, Jeff.
Pardon me?
Way to lead from the front.
Oh, thank
You
you.
know, this is a big problem in the fire service coast to coast, and you're leading the way with this. So thank you. This is awesome.
It's pretty exciting. SAFE reported that most states have some kind of pool like SAFE. Washington has LNI, WESHIP, and almost all states have some kind of pool like SAFE is. And a little over a year ago, they met in Chicago, closed door meeting, and one of the states was open and said that their average claim is running a little under $850,000 per claimant. The next meeting they had, L and I reported that their average claim, I think, is running $633,000. And the sad thing is that our firefighters, our most important asset, are really struggling. You know, the calls are different since 9/11. The response with our civilians is different. You know, our firefighters are seeing and doing things that no human being should ever see. So if we can get them healthy, keep them healthy, that's a gift. There's nothing in there that's a surprise. Ironically, I won't mention Brian Stewart by name, but he actually had a big hand in a lot of what we put together. Most of this you're already doing. There are some things that are some enhancements. With that, to finish up the board training piece, SDAO is going to be having us focus more behind the scenes with employment law, hiring, firing, promoting, demoting. It's a big concern of theirs. Driver error, and then cyber liability, and much of that will happen with your management staff and with your firefighters behind the scenes. That will help you get their credits and prepare you best for the renewal cycle. I do want to point out that this last year, a law was passed. HR 285, you might be familiar with it. It requires board members of districts that have over $1 million in expenditures on an annual basis to go through board training. SDOs apply to be a part of that. We're want to be part of that team, so we're trying to get approved at the state level to do the board members training, and that's really based around ORS 192.660, open meetings, public records. We don't know yet what it's going to be. The state hasn't come out and said what that's going to look like. But when that does become formalized at the state level, we'll be doing some of that training, whether it's through webinars or whatever, coming back up to board meetings and working with you. We don't know whether it's going to be all board members, an individual at the board, or what that means, but we'll keep you posted as that develops. That's going to be a little ways down the road. We'll shift gears and talk now about OSHA. As you know, OSHA has changed their fining model, and essentially the fines are significantly higher now. We have been working with the state to work through some of how they address those. But I am going to suggest that as we get into the fall, that we go out and do more inspections and prepare you for OSHA when they come next time. Because how they're rating, their matrix on how they rate things, years ago, if we had a broken switch plate, it would be considered a minor and would be $100. Today, that might be considered a major violation. It might be $1,000 from the old fining process. The new fining process, most of those doubled and tripled, and I'll get you the rate on what that looks like. Most of the branches in OSHA around the state have been pretty good to work with. We've had some challenges with the Eugene area.
So Jeff, one of the things we're dealing with OFDDA, as you know, is we have several smaller fire districts around the state that first of all can't afford to fix their problems and are worried about getting fined for a problem they can't fix. Is there anything in the works of helping fire districts get money to fix the problems before they get fined and pay fines they can't afford to pay in the first place?
So I'm going to jump ahead from Oregon to the feds. You may be aware that the feds are trying to change their bandwidth. And there was a piece that originally popped up in 2008, was back in 2015, and both times it was killed immediately at the federal level. And it is currently active at the federal level. And there's a big movement to try to push it through, I think, before the election. And there's some discussion, there may be some politics involved in that, but it would change OSHA's requirements, the Fed OSHA requirements. And keep in mind that when the feds create a new what's called federal registry, we have 6 months in the state to accept it or make it tougher So we have to accept it in its entirety or make it tougher. This new document is about 200 pages long. I know that you've read through it multiple times. It requires we inspect vacant buildings. It has requirements that we adopt 1582 and 83. All of our firefighters have to have physicals. They have to comply with all of the 1500 series. I think it adopts 20 NFPA standards. It is not doable. City of Eugene, have I taken too much time?
No.
City of Eugene ran a cost analysis for one type of inspection. It was $5 million out of their budget. They don't have the budget to do it. So the state worked with us. State Fire Marshal's office did a survey. 255 fire departments responded. And of those 255 that responded, 50 departments in Oregon have a budget of less than $100,000. They can't do the physicals. And unfortunately, most of those are rural communities and they're working in, the typical response for them is a farming claim, EMS, a logging claim. And to divert our firefighters from doing their response to inspecting buildings is dysfunctional. So your association has written some letters, responded to the feds. We actually met with all of our elected officials in May and posed to them the challenges that we had. So to answer your question, are we trying to fix the fines that are being levied? I think the ear in Salem is sensitive today. We have a challenge with the Eugene branch, but in Bend, Southern Oregon up here, they've been pretty good to work with. We have work in front of us, both at a state level, but also at a federal level. So I can't tell you whether it's going to pass or not. I was in Dallas, Texas last week with FRI, with the international chiefs. Labor is pushing it very hard. And when you read the document, I think every firefighter would want us to do what they're asking us to do. There's just no revenue to do it. And we don't have the staffing. So the letters that came from OFCA to our elected officials and to Fed OSHA was, we'd love to do this. Give us the money, give us the people. And it's just a challenge. Much to my surprise, when we were in DC in April, both aisles, both R's and D's were sensitive and said, we understand. So I don't remember the exact number, but I think of the 255 districts that responded, 180, I think, were operating on budgets of not much more than 100,000. I think it was $1.5 million or something like that. There's just no money to do what we would love to do if we could. So we have work in front of us. OSHA, please.
So this is Fed OSHA.
Fed OSHA.
And for our OSHA's position on it is they've got to do it because it's Fed OSHA. So is the thought then that they're going to fund all of these, their agency via these fines? Is that what they're hoping to do?
They're not going to fund us. They say that their fines don't fund the agency. I'm not quite sure where the money goes into the general fund. They are trying to force, in particular, for-profit businesses to be much more focused on safety.
So these are requirements that are not court or congressional, they're not law, they're administrative rules
Yes.
that are under significant attack in the Supreme Court.
And you're,
This is why.
and you're spot on. The Supreme Court recently ruled on what's called Chevron deference. And the debate right now is, does OSHA even have the authority to levy those fines?
So one of the conversations I had at one of my meetings at OSHA, with OSHA, was that one of the reasons that they're increasing the fines and doing what they're doing is because of staffing issues, because they don't have the ability to staff OSHA, thus do the inspections. So the idea of the increased fines is to encourage the agencies to actually do what they're supposed to do so that OSHA doesn't have to staff at the levels they need, should be staffing to be able to do the inspections in the first place. And so when they do come out and do the inspections, they're serious about it.
Fair.
Now, I don't know if that's true or not, but that's what they talked about. That's what they talked about in the meeting. So, but then the other part of that conversation is what do you do for the agencies that can't afford to fix the problems they have in the first place? As before these new OSHA rules came in, these weren't problems.
Yeah.
Now they're problems. Now they're considered problems finable at a very high rate.
Very
They
high
don't
rate.
have the ability to pay to fix the problems in the first place.
Yeah.
So now they're like, do we wait and see if we get fined and not pay that fine? Or do we not fix it because we don't have the money to fix it in the first place?
It's catch-22. I want to be very careful to bifurcate the two issues. Oregon changed its laws and the amount of fines that come out. The feds are trying to force the entire country to adopt a much higher enhanced.
Brian probably has a much better way of articulating what I just said, but I'm sure he's got more information.
Well, I think trying to find the money to fix stuff is a challenge. Again, I think it's about half the fire departments in Oregon, there's about 305, 306, depending on who's consolidated or not. About half of them work on budgets less than $500,000 a year, and again, there's about 90 that work on less than that 100,000. But in respect to how do you find out about what's necessary, you have the option, which we have done internally with Clackamas, is having an OSHA consultant come out. So, which used to be a more attractive option until some of the rules have changed. So there used to be a big divide between consultation and enforcement. And essentially those two sides of the house didn't talk. So one of the changes that happened at Oregon OSHA is now serious violations that are found under consultation need to go to enforcement. So that's a big drawback to encouraging agencies to be proactive and looking at how can they improve, how can they better protect their employees? Because now by asking for help, they're subjecting themselves to potential penalty, right? The other piece to speak to, and I think one of the things, maybe it's not the whole piece, related to the adjustment in the fine rates. So Oregon has to be as impactful or equal to or more effective than federal OSHA. Oregon OSHA, because it has a higher number of inspectors than most states, it gets out to more inspections. They used to have a lower fee schedule. The sense from, or the policy from Oregon OSHA was, if on a cumulative basis, our fines based on our size are equal to what other states are levying, even though those are higher, that they found that to be Oregon OSHA's interpretation was an equivalency. The feds have come back about a year ago, maybe 2 years ago, and said that's not the case. Your fines need to be higher to be considered equally effective to the federal standard. It wasn't a cumulative basis, but it was a per incident basis that the feds were pushing Oregon OSHA to. So there's a lot of conundrum to it, and like Jeff has shared, we've worked really well across the state, OFDDA, OSCA, Oregon Safety and Health, SDAO, with Oregon OSHA in 80% of its territory.
Yep.
And it's education, and it's, yes, finding violations when they're there, but really trying to do right by the environment, by the employees, and by the system. There is one district that is challenged. One Oregon OSHA district has a very different take on how to administer the own areas.
I want to be very careful when I say this. Probably shouldn't say it at all. Right. OSHA's the law. We comply with it. We're going to do everything we can to meet and exceed it. But I want to caution you here. We have to go far beyond what OSHA says, because if you look at their top 25 fines, I've only been doing this 3 or 4 weeks. Thank you. Their top 25 fines, I have never had a firefighter hurt by things they fine us for. The grinder is one of their top 10 sites every year in Oregon. Safety committee violations, hazardous material, getting fined because we have a unlabeled water bottle that squirts plants, those types of things. And I've told OSHA that. And I've met with their enforcement side, and not too long ago asked if we lost a firefighter, and we pray we never do, but if we lost a firefighter, when are you gonna stand tall? Because your job is to make sure all of our firefighters get home safe. And they always say, our finding record. And I tell them, great, I'm gonna tell you that not one of those has ever hurt a firefighter. 52 to 58% of the injuries to our firefighters are sprains and strains. Point to something in OSHA that talks about sprains and strains. Driver error, heart attack, #1 reason for fatality. Now, if we get into the physicals, that for the first time, they're actually gonna get into that. The second most reason for fatality beyond heart attack is driver error nationwide. We lose 17 to 25 firefighters a year, driver error, usually an attender, usually a volunteer. Tell me where OSHA talks about driver error. They miss it on all marks. Now, they mean well, we embrace it, we do it. We fix our broken switch plates. We fix our stair banisters so that they're 44 inches apart. We do all the things they say. And then we go to work with safety. Then we go to work to get our firefighters home safe. So that's my soapbox. I'm gonna climb off it now and change subjects. I got everybody worked up pretty good, didn't I? We'll keep you posted. I don't know what's gonna happen on a federal basis. I can tell you that OSHA is actually behind us right now saying we couldn't enforce this. I would bet you that if it goes through, there's gonna be lawsuits and one thing and another. There is a big push from the East Coast to get it pushed through. And I don't know whether it's gonna make it or not. I do want to hit one other thing, and this is a federal House bill. We really had a very successful year in Washington DC with grants and the other items that we were looking for the fire service. There's a House bill that has stalled. Now, if you're tracking what's going on in Washington DC, it's very dysfunctional a lot. That's not even new news, is it? That's kind of old news. It's on steroids right now. But there's a big push to try to get things through before the election. And one of those is a bill called HR 1719. And this one expands Public Safety Officers Benefit Act to pick up cancers. Now, the thing I like about it, and for Washington DC, if you do the analytics on what it would cost, and I hate this, but our electeds refer to it as budget dust. It's a small amount of money in their big pot. But the thing that I like about it is it would pick up cancer today, the way it's written, and it could get changed, it will pick up cancer for volunteers. And that is pretty cool. So right now in the state of Oregon and in most states, I think 11 states have some kind of cancer coverage for volunteers. Most do not because we can't validate that the cancer came from firefighting. Did it come from the brake shop or did it come from firefighting? And it would be a wonderful thing if we could offer something up to our volunteer firefighters for cancer. So, and this is right now, this is a very timely issue. And if you have energy on it, you're gonna wanna call your electeds and push them to support it. But it's a big deal. Now, I covered an awful lot of ground very quickly. Behind the scenes, we're gonna be working on with your staff on all of the employment issues, driving, which is nationwide a challenge, but Oregon is looking at it pretty closely, and cyber liability. And then we'll keep you posted on the OSHA issues, and most important, we'll keep you posted on this workers' comp program for post-traumatic stress. I took way longer than I was supposed to tonight, and I apologize. What questions did you have for me?
This is a great idea.
Thank you.
This is, rather than try and deal with it, figure out how to deal with it better after it happens. See if we can stop it.
Yeah.
Make it less. And this just makes a lot of sense across the board.
I sure hope so. Our assets are people, and I think most everybody in this room contests that what our folks are seeing today is, and you know, when you're driving to a call and people are throwing rocks at you, you know, it's different. It's just different. And we're in the uniform today. I had a situation, I think I mentioned it last time I was up, at a department. Crew came on and they were in the grocery store grabbing the grub for the day that they were paying for with their own money. And a civilian walked up and started taking stuff out of the grocery cart, putting it on the shelf, saying, "You're not spending my tax dollars on this." It's a different, you know, there was a day when you responded to a call and, you know, you were the best part of their day. And today, several years ago, I had a individual, civilian go down in a department store. And the crew gets in, he has a heart attack, this individual, crew packaged him, gets him to the hospital. No question, saved his life. 2 weeks later, writes the chief, hey, I got all my stuff from the hospital and I'm missing my Rolex watch. Now, the good news is the cameras in the store picked it up when he walked in, with sleeves rolled up, picked him up when he was on the ground. He had no Rolex watch. And we were fortunate to go back and say, hey, listen, you can push this if you want, but just so you know, fraud's still illegal. And that went away, but civilians are different today. So you got me on my box and I may be here another 2 hours, just
Love it.
warming you up.
Love it.
Thank you for your kind words.
Thank you, Jeff.
Anything else for us?
I think we're good. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thanks,
Jeff.
Jeff.
Thank you, and thanks for your commitment to the community and to our firefighters. Be
Thanks,
safe.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you.
Next up, we have another presentation, district branding, chief leaders and program specialist. Christian.
I'll just give you a little bit of background on this before Tracy gets started. So this came about when we were doing the levee research and we started working with Coastline. And one of the byproducts of all of the polling and all of the research that it would within our community, he brought back to the future funding task force that in our community, we have sort of an identity crisis, and meaning that we get associated with different names of Clackamas Fire, Clackamas County Fire, Clackamas County District 1, all of these things, and mostly the county is what we get associated with. And they believe that we're the county fire department. So through that, and through the information that we received, the district, we decided to put together a committee to start evaluating some of this stuff. So I'll turn it over to Tracy, who's been part of it since the beginning. Tracy.
Thank you. Thanks, Chief Peters, and good evening, members of the board. So yeah, as Chief Peters touched on, the fire district, as we kind of know it today, it's been like a course of various mergers and annexations. And through those mergers and annexations, there's been variations of Clackamas Fire's name that we've seen along the years. And then also like through those various eras, if you will, the logo has also changed. And what that over time has resulted in, sort of like some confusion that was mentioned earlier with our residents, our local businesses, of differentiating the fire district from the county or other services. We often get mistaken for being part of the county, or there's just some confusion in the look or identity of the logo that like maybe we're part of the water district, or some people just based on even various forms of the uniform think that, you know, it's first responders in the sense of police. And so that was sort of our starting point as we got started with the levy, that we wanted to kind of rebrand ourselves, but we knew in starting and kicking off the levy that might not be the best time during that time. So we started and established a committee early on just to kind of do like a short term or quick fix. So what that looked like was just like a logo refresh, which you see here on your agenda tonight. Looks pretty much the same, except for we did make it so that the river would be on both sides instead of the one side. And then we dropped the number 1 and it became Clackamas Fire District. So that was what we kind of did as our refresh during the levy campaign. And then while we were doing the campaign, we knew that was short term, but that the goal also was to have a long-term fix. And so after post levy, now it's been about a year and in the passage of the levy, then the long term came about, which was to hire a logo or branding company to redo the look of the logo. So I get the pleasure of introducing that to you tonight. I think Shelby has, and so this is the new logo that we came up with as a committee and then working with the VPNs, the company that we went with. And in addition to the new logo, we also decided to change our name. So we went from Clackamas Fire District during the levy and dropped the number 1. And now we're just going to be Clackamas Fire with the intention of doing that as a legal name change during the levy and another general bond obligation that we've had. The legal name is Clackamas County Fire District number 1. And so that is the goal also with this name change, is to change it legally, aside from seeing it in the logo. And then this is now becoming our new logo. We haven't introduced it across the organization. We do have a little bit of a rollout plan that we still need to discuss either as a committee or with leadership. But for first blush, that this is the new logo that we came up with. Happy to answer any questions or.
First of all, thank you for both of you to give a little history. When I saw this paper on my desk, my first question is, who wanted to rebrand? Why did we have to spend money? Actually, I don't know, if Merlin and Jim may remember, about 8 or 10 years ago, there was a movement to rebrand, change and at the time I thought we have removed county from our name, except it only verbally, it never happened. So I was very happy to see that explanation from the levy, the polling, that gives a good basis. It's not just something that we wanted to spend money on, make us look good. Yes, it's a very good. This is taking us to the 21st, 22nd century logo, but it didn't come up with the chief officer sat down and say, okay, let's have a new logo. Because it's going to cost us a lot of money. And I'm so glad the thought process that you went through. I'm very impressed with it. And the question is it going to be black and white or is it going to be green? The color, the logo.
I think it's what you see right there.
Yeah.
Exactly where it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we are kind of missing the green part from the.
Well, and we also took, so like in the original, the logo that's behind you, so like the main focus that we liked was the Maltese cross, which is the center of that. And so we basically took that because we felt that that was sort of identifiable, that when people see that, they associate that with the fire service. So then it kind of came from that we wanted to start with the Maltese cross, which is what you see. And then we've always liked the mountain and the landscape, that's very representative of the areas that we cover. So then we just took a lot of the landscape piece and we liked having that in the center of the Maltese cross, so.
My biggest concern is Marilyn and I have to go through a whole wardrobe change.
The trees are all black because they're burned.
Yeah.
Speak well.
No, it's just the state of all the fires. I like it.
Yeah, I mean, it's very impressive, simple, clean. That's just the thing that when we do something like this, if it is at a look, At a glance, you can tell, Clackamas Fire. Simple.
You know, the other thing, Thomas, that you're speaking about 8 years ago when this process started, previous administration landed on Clackamas Fire. That's, and so if you look at our fire engines, our ladder trucks, heavy rescues, that's what they say.
Clackamas
So
Fire.
as far as the costs,
Yeah.
right, we already have savings in the process there.
Okay,
It's just finishing basically what they started 8 years ago, and grateful that we landed in the same spot of where they started 8 years ago to see it through. But in talking with the consultants, they were very excited about the step forward in this, just solely based on, like Steve said, the polling that we got back and the information they were delivered to the Future Funding Task Force. This is gonna be a really good thing as far as an identity for us moving forward.
And we speak.
And it'll be phased in, it'll be overnight.
But any time you have an organization associated with county, it doesn't look good.
That was a lot of the feedback we got from our communities. That's all.
Absolutely.
It is funny, we're coming up on 40 years almost of the original merger.
Yeah.
Between Clackamas, Happy Valley, District 54. And even back then, the discussion, exactly like what you guys just did, is funny how 40 years later, we kind of go through it several times, 8, 10 years ago. And back then, we almost landed on Clackamas Fire, but then there was a group, well, that's just representing Clackamas, you know, Clackamas 71, or town, people always called this area Clackamas, or they called the industrial area, or where Thomas's store used to be on 82nd Drive. That's, so all that doesn't represent Happy Valley, Redland, Beaver Creek, you know, so we were almost there, but all these years later, it is simple. And you know, it's funny, in my consulting, going all around the country, we're known everywhere, and most people just refer to us as Clackamas. It's not even the fire, so it's almost like people, oh, you're from Clackamas, Clackamas, that's all you hear. So I think this is simple. It does look kind of like the boring patch, so I'm suspicious of where that came from.
Steve's influence, you think?
The black and the, you know, the, and anyway.
Is that like, that's, truth comes out.
Good job.
Thank you, Tracy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tracy.
Peace out. Thank you, Jeff. Have a safe drive.
Yes.
Oh, just look at your phone.
All right.
Thank you, Tracy. Thanks, Tracy.
Not when you're driving.
Thank you, Tracy. Business action items. Item D1 is request board approval to surplus apparatus. CFO Whitaker.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, board of directors. I'm presenting tonight on behalf of Support Services Officer Bill Bischoff, who has requested this item to surplus the 4 items there in the table of your staff report. District policy requires that anything that is acquired with an acquisition cost of greater than 20,000 has to come to the board before we can dispose of it or surplus it. So Bill has been working with the departments and has identified these 4 items. We still need to do a little research on some of them and whether they were purchased with grant dollars and what that might mean in terms of how we can dispose of them or what happens to the proceeds. But once that's complete, we'll be ready to either sell them on GovDeals, which is the auction website that we utilize, or donate them if there's another public agency that might be interested, or if there's not a lot of value in selling them. So with that, I'll take any questions or ask for your approval of the item.
Any questions or comments, anyone?
My question is, what's an M2? The 2007 Freightliner M2.
It's a beer truck, frankly, so it's a
way to describe it.
it's a used truck that we had purchased and repurposed for the heavy rescue here to carry equipment and tools, I believe.
Oh, okay.
And we recently received a new trailer with that can haul around heavy rescue and other equipment. So no longer need that truck.
The mobile command bus has been an interesting unit, how we got it in the first place, let alone how it evolved. A lot of John Ingram went into it, and then Kevin Donegan later. It was used on some of the big incidents, even the town center shooting, I remember working on it then. Do we have a command bus now? Once we get rid of that, don't really need one? As we use that one a few times?
There's just not operations dove into this thoroughly and looked at where we thrive when we're setting up incident management teams, and it's just not enough us. So the cost of the upkeep on it.
Yeah, the other thing too is we have an IGA with the city of Oregon City with that bus, and then we've gone around with their new police chief and their staff, and they have no need for it. We're supposed to actually be splitting the cost of maintenance and everything with them. And it's been sitting in our station. It has been, it's been using a valuable base space, which we'd really like to put a well-man rig in there. We use it gets out every year because it's requested by the city of Happy Valley for their the 4th of July parade and kind of their little temporary command post, but we have not used it. PD's not asking for it to be on the radar or deployable. So we've kind of spent, honestly, Jim, about the last 2 years just going around and around with it. And I think there's, the vehicle itself, it just hasn't been deployed as intended. And it's also, as far as the IR and all that stuff, it's now with drone technology and everything, it's changed. So I think we're just outdated and looking to improve the asset that sits in that bay right now, so.
Good, makes sense. So any other questions, comments? So do I hear a motion for the board to approve the identified rolling stock as surplus and allow the fire chief to proceed with disposal in accordance with district policy?
So moved. I'll second.
Then moved and seconded. Shelby, please call the roll.
Jay,
Yes.
Chris,
Yes.
Thomas,
Yes.
Carolyn,
Yes.
Jim.
And yes, motion approves. Moving on, item B2, request board approval to refurbish two 2008 Pierce Type 1 pumpers and to purchase two new Ford F-150 pickups.
Okay, again, thank you for presenting on behalf of Bill. So this is a procurement request. Obviously, both the engine refurbishment and the pickups exceed collectively the 100,000 that requires board approval. So that's why we're here tonight. Both of these are consistent with our capital plan and with the 2024-25 budget. The refurbishment would take two older engines and get them refurbished rather than having to go out and purchase new engines for over $1 million. So that's kind of a new direction we're taking to extend the life of our assets. And then the two Ford pickups will be added to our inventory, allowing us to retire some of our older vehicles and bump up our capability for IMTs and other responses. So both are allowed under our purchasing policy, and I request your approval, or I'll take any questions.
Any questions?
Maybe you won't be able to answer some of these, but how long is the refurbishment gonna take? I mean, I approve the concept of saving money, not it's gonna cost us time. And is it gonna take this company just as long to refurbish this as it is to get a brand new one?
No, they won't be out of service. I mean, right now, we're looking at a 3 to 4 year timeline for Pierce to purchase new engines. And as I understand, the refurbishment will be less than that. So they won't.
2.5 years.
And I know I'd have to get a timeline from Bill on that, but it wouldn't take that long.
Well, Bill told us that, in one of the meetings that, the engines that we ordered will start production in January 2027.
Yeah,
So,
36 to 48 months.
Yeah.
And this company is a brand new company, it was incorporated in February. And so I'm kind of concerned about its ability to perform. our
Yeah,
Bond or something, I mean, we hand over our equipment to them and it disappears.
no, we'll have a contract and insurance for all of that, so that's under, you know, and then also they are a vendor, an official dealer for Pierce. And so Bill has worked with them before, and they've been identified, but
Yeah, well,
Certainly, yeah.
I'm just concerned is that what happens if they form this new company, to get them out from underneath Brinson, which is the real company. And so that, you know, when they start playing little shell games with the companies, you get concerned about what it is they're shuffling around, including our equipment. So, and then if you would just, when you get them all, email me the pages in the budget where those, numbers are, I could not find them.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments?
Mark, when you get a chance, could you send me the scope of work of what we're doing for refurbishment?
Yep.
Just want to take a look, see what we're doing. I like the idea. I think it makes perfect sense. Those things they're built very solid. You have a good foundation. Update them with some new electronics and new doors, screen doors, go to paint. Life is good.
it's also pretty much a standard in the industry, where ambulances are doing it too. The ambulances, they run the chassis out of them and then they rebox them. There's companies that just all they do is rebox ambulances.
Okay. Do I hear a motion for the board to approve the refurbishment expenses of 2 Pierce Type 1 pumpers and purchase 2 new Ford F-150 pickups in an amount not to exceed $1,054,284?
So moved.
Second. Been moved and double seconded. Shelby, please call the roll.
Jay,
Yes.
Chris,
Yes.
Thomas,
Yes.
Marilyn,
Yeah,
Jim.
Yes, motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Okay, other business. OB1, board committee liaison reports. First up, the foundation liaison, Director Cross, and I see Jerry's here too. So you might have some,
Cool.
Updates, for the.
I came
foundation.
incognito.
Yeah, good, Jerry, thank
Yeah.
you. I got a lot to report, actually, I got 3 things to report on. So we're gonna start with the foundation. Foundation had a great meeting, a few weeks ago. I am really, the foundation's doing moving forward. There's a lot of engagement with the foundation, with the trustees, and I really like that. It's been a little bit of slow, but the trustees have really stepped up, and they're starting to be engaged in the community. We went to National Night Out. I'm assuming Jerry's gonna give us a little update of what actually happened at National Night Out. The marketing plan seems to be, the marketing plan they talked about, that Jerry shared with us a few months ago, they're actually doing it. So it looks good. Oh, yeah, and Thomas came to the last meeting too, didn't he? Thomas was there too, so. A little bit of positive energy that I like there, so, I don't know, it was good. It seems like we're moving in the right direction, so you wanna add anything, Thomas?
No.
Okay, so, and I'll let you talk about it when your turn is up, Jerry. So that, the other things I want to tell you about is a couple of other positive things going on. Part of my assignment with the Oregon Fire District Directors Association is with the National Association of Emergency Fire Officials, which is a national-based organization similar to OMPDA, but on the national level. And it's kind of had a slow start a little bit over the last several years, but about a year ago, maybe 9 months ago, NAFO hired an administrator, and he is absolutely knocking it out of the park. He is doing such an outstanding job. But we had actually a really good meeting the other day, which they're based out of Washington DC, so we meet at 6 o'clock at night because the East Coast they're at 9 o'clock. We spent a lot of time talking about Oregon. And I was surprised, there was, in that meeting, there was 11 states represented that night, and we especially spent, because of all the fires and stuff, we spent a lot of time talking about Oregon, but one of the things, the basis of the meeting is we now have a procedure and policy for having a voice at the national level level legislatively. So it's kind of cool that we've now got our foot in the door with some of the legislatures at the national level. Like I said, we spent some time talking about OFDDA specifically and what we do at OFDDA, but I'm encouraged that we have some policies and some movement at the national level for this organization. So we'll have to see how that grows, but it's kind of cool to be involved in. As far as the OFDDA, once again, we had another great meeting this last month. We talked a lot, we did our typical business items and stuff, which is that, but we also spent a lot of time talking about the conference. And I'm actually at the conference up here, and I was actually surprised to see that that we don't actually have the actual agenda up on the website yet. I expected it to be up actually on Friday, but we got a lot going on. We've got, I'm not sure exactly, somebody from Clackamas, from Isaac's group is going to be doing a presentation on social media again, which was a big hit. Kenton Johnson and his boast from the chaplains, they're going to be doing a dealing with death in the fire service presentation, and everybody's really excited about that. And the other thing too is that Jeff was alluding to, and that's why I asked you to stay. We're looking at all this OSHA stuff and all of these new mandates that are coming down on required training and stuff. So that's one of the reasons that we've been talking to you and trying to get your group involved with some of our trainings, is because we know this is coming. And what we're trying to offer at the conferences and at other levels of some of these mandated trainings to make sure that OFDDA is offering 2 or 3 classes per conference that covers those kind of things. So another reason I wanted Jeff to stick around is because he and his group have offered so much to this conference coming up. And I don't even know all the details of how many people we got coming to this conference, but I know that we're really excited about it. So I don't know if.
We got a couple, I don't yet have all the marching orders, but I think we've got at least 2, maybe 3 classes.
Yeah.
That we're working on. I think Les Holloman is doing one on disaster preparedness.
Right.
And I think he had me speaking on something.
Right, and Jason Jensen's gonna be there as well and some stuff too, so anyway, but yeah, it's a lot of exciting, good stuff happening at those outside of Clackamas Fire. I mean, a lot of cool stuff happening in Clackamas Fire, but some cool stuff happening outside of Clackamas Fire too, so.
Sun River.
Yes, Sun River, good stuff, but anyway, thanks for sticking around. That's all I got. So,
Thanks, Jeff, for sticking around.
Thank you.
Any questions for Jay? Thank you. Emergency committee.
Director,
Oh, yeah,
tell me when you want me to go.
yeah, no, let's go now, because we're
Okay,
at the foundation, so thank you, Jerry.
some good news about the foundation. I have here 2 checks for $10,000 each. One made out to the district to cover expenses for the community paramedic. I intend to present to the chief tonight. And the other, it's made out to local 1062 in Gresham to assist the family of the firefighter that was so greatly injured.
Spencer Tahada.
I want to talk to both of you about this before I bail out of here tonight or before you do. One thing that we're trying to do very hard with the foundation, and I know this isn't a foundation meeting, but you opened the door for me, Director Crowe. We're trying to make the foundation more known to the public. One of the things we did was the National Night Out, which Oregon City invited us to attend with them, Oregon City Police. Another thing that we have pending is the Happy Valley Farmers Markets. For some reason, and I don't know the reason, every time I talk about it, I'm told, well, people have to get in gear for that. I'm not gonna mention names or point to fingers, but it would really help us to be able to say, hey, this is us
this is what we do. Just as we did on that. We made $7.37, I think was the total contributions that were, that's not what we're looking to do. What we're looking to do is let people know we're here and we're here to help. Obviously, Director Cross is aware, and the community paramedic was aware, and stepped forward and gave what we did. And I have never been to a meeting where that didn't happen. Somebody wanted, and this literally did happen, somebody wanted $20,000 because of the need to purchase something, they got it. If somebody needed $5, they got that too. And we didn't split hairs as to, well, you're a member, you're not a member, whatever. You're somebody in need, and that's where we are. I hope I've spoken correctly, Jay. We're headed in the right direction.
There's good things happening. Good things happening. We're moving in the right direction.
And I thank you for your time, and I will thank you both for your time afterwards.
Thanks,
I want to get a picture of me giving you the check, so it can go on the website.
Awesome.
And we can get some more positive publicity that way.
That's good to hear. There's progress on the plan, from a few months ago. So thank you.
Sir,
And
start the sentence again, please, Jim.
oh, it's good to hear that there's progress being made on your plan that you talked about a couple of months ago. So good job. I also understand that the foundation made a more recent donation also to the family in Sandy who got.
That's why I was late today. I was delivering the donation from volunteers and from the foundation to the family in Boring, actually. They're right, literally on the border, but that lost a husband and grandfather over the weekend. I heard Kenton Johnson's name mentioned a short while ago. I'm friendly with Ken. He's a friend in addition to being a fellow volunteer and on the same page as I am. But he called me and asked the day after he notified the family that their father and grandfather had been demolished, literally, in Iraq, and called me and asked if there's anything that the foundation could do. I called Tom Trotter, and together he and I can each at any one time on any one occasion donate $1,000 per head. So 1,000 from him, 1,000 from me. Kenton called Joe. The volunteers also donated 1,000, and the family now has those $3,000 in checks. And they were extremely grateful to all parties, not just the party handing the money or the groups handing the money, but they spoke positively of the chaplain that was there. And I don't think, frankly, our chaplains get enough positive publicity, but they deserve it. Now I'm open.
Yeah, very good. Greatly, all of the donations are appreciated in this collaboration between the volunteers and the foundation, which we don't see that often. So good job. Okay, anything else in regards to the foundation? Areas Committee, Director Joseph, we had a meeting with Sandy.
We had a good meeting with Sandy, and one of the suggestions that we made was to have one of the directors appear periodically in our meetings. So our directors, besides Jim and I, know all the board of directors, and so they welcome that suggestion, and they are going to start scheduling somebody to attend our meeting. And there were some other good discussions, Steve and Nick was there, and Jim, that's all I remember.
Yeah, all of our meetings with them just go smooth and quick. They're happy. Things are going very well. We keep hearing, well, they keep hearing, especially about the volunteers serving at Dover. And I noticed on the report, 31 out of 31, it's probably the first time in 30 years I ever remember a volunteer station being 100%. Any of them, anytime. So great job. But they hear a lot about that.
Second
They
time,
hear,
second one. For that,
no, it's the second time, so it's happened before.
second one in a row.
Oh, it is?
Second one.
Okay, so. And they hear a lot and see a lot about the rescue. They talk, yeah, the rescue's all over and double taps, you know, are getting covered, so they're just really thrilled. And probably at some point, you know, blossom the relationship to another level. So I think that's where they're headed.
We are also in the process of scheduling a joint work session with Gladstone. We have.
Yeah, we're
someone-
meeting with them
Next Thursday.
week after next,
For an interagency.
or is it
Yeah.
next week?
Was it?
Yes, next Thursday.
Yeah, we have a meeting with Gladstone next
Yeah.
week, so.
Yep.
Yeah, after that, we'll figure out where they're headed. A lot of the same stuff.
Yep.
So. Okay, and are there any committee reports, liaison reports that we missed? Okay, next, board informational updates. Does any board member have any informational updates, comments on any topic, anything to share?
Jerry and Joe, thank you. I watched that call Saturday night, the 10th. And I woke up Sunday morning and found it was my friend Jonathan. I spent the day notifying people. I had to have Steve apologize to the guys from Rescue because I walked into that grocery outlet and I'm usually not 3 doubles into a Sunday afternoon by 1. But I spent the morning telling people that we had lost Jonathan and his dad. That family has seen more tragedy than anybody should have to. Their mom suffered through cancer, got a clean bill of health, and 6 weeks later, the car left the road. She was killed, and Jonathan found her the next morning, about a mile from their house. That Saturday night, Jonathan and his dad were killed right in front of their house, literally in front of their driveway. There was nothing anybody could have done. Because I sit in this chair, I've spent the last week with people asking me what happened, and all I can tell them is I don't know. I don't know any more details than anyone else does. What I've been able to tell them is that Jonathan and his dad were cared for by the most highly skilled, dedicated professionals there are. They did everything they could, and I don't know who was there, it doesn't matter, because you guys do it every day. And I got to tell them that it's not a slogan, it's something I know. The other thing was something that Jerry mentioned, the chaplain, it was Ken, of course it was Ken. I've had people ask me, did I do something knowing it was Jonathan? Did I call the chief? They sent out a chaplain and a trauma intervention program. I said, well, 1, I can't really do that. And 2, I don't have to. They do it for everyone. Jonathan was just another one of the people that we have in our area. It doesn't matter who they are, we take care of them like that. This time, how we took care of them mattered to me. And I want to thank you all. Because I don't like this outcome. But it means a lot that I can tell them we did everything we could.
Thank you, Chris, we appreciate that. Great job to everyone on that incident. Terrible tragedy. We will move on to division reports. Office of the Fire Chief. Okay.
Awesome, thank you, Jim. Yeah, you know, piggyback on there, our crews and everybody at the Clackamas Fire family do amazing things day in and day out. Give you a couple highlights from this last month. We had 4 individuals complete, so Fire Marshal Olson, Captain Harrison Zebrink, Support Service Officer Bill Bischoff, and Lieutenant Kinnaman for completing an All-American leadership training. And it's a 6-month, pretty intensive professional development opportunity. This is round 2 of us doing this. And really dives into looking at yourself and establishing kind of your personal ethos, and just dives into a bunch of other agencies, Orange County Fire Authority, Central Pierce, Manhattan Beach. There's just a bunch throughout the nation that are in this program. So there are a lot of relationships built throughout, and it's not just firefighters that go through it. It's a cross section of our organization. So really proud of them and their dedication to completing that program, and being able to watch them in the middle of July as they gave their presentation, which is basically a 12-minute presentation on their personal mission, their personal ethos. And it was really, really cool to see them participate in that. July has been super busy for the wildfire front. We are sitting, it's somewhere north of 1.5 million acres burnt in the state of Oregon, with really truly our season kind of just beginning historically. It has been an all hands on deck approach. We've had multiple members from the Clackamas Fire family deploy. And then not only that, but the people that were at home when they would get back, making sure that that equipment was getting back into mission readiness and mission ready for response in the fire district. So that's been a busy season so far. We are every single year since 2020, we are hitting level 3 evacuations within the Clackamas Fire District. We had level 3 evacuations last weekend within the fire district. So it's not really a pay or a statistic that I like to say, hey, yeah, it's just really cool. We've hit this. It's not one of those, right? But it's just something to expect as we move forward. This is a new norm for us. And then to close it off, just would like to speak to really the community services division. It shows on your 15 incidents or 15 events that they responded to and participated in. But I mean, we're in the thousands of people that they are engaging with monthly. And the Touch and Truck event in Oregon City was one of the big ones. And then Sandy Mountain Festival and the parade was another one. It's just amazing to see the volunteers, the community service division, led by Doug and Steve, and all the crews and their engagement in it. I know this is normally something we share for next month, but I just have to share it now. It was shared on social media 100,000 plus times. I showed up to an event in the off 126 in Happy Valley to catch Engine 8 in the middle of a Congo line dancing while there was live music going. I flipped up my phone and I filmed it. It was the most amazing thing to see, because the neighborhood there, and they're in this Congo line dancing with the community. It just shows what our people do beyond emergency calls. When we say we're here for you, we mean it at all levels. And it's just super proud of our crews, super proud of the community services division. I'm super proud of the volunteer group and everybody stepping up to engage our community with this, with who we are and why we're here. Just super proud moment for me as a fire chief to be able to see all of those things. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
So a few weeks ago, my wife and I both have watch duty on our phones, and we're looking at watch duty and we're looking at all the fires that we're looking at your emails and we're looking at active 911 and we're looking at everything that's going on. And we got talking about how back in 2020, when you first became the fire chief, how, we looked at the data.
Yeah.
You and I sat in your office and we looked at the data and we talked about, the type threes. We talked about the concept of crew 30.
Yeah.
We talked about all of that stuff, and you and your staff followed the data. You looked at the trends, you geared up the fire district, you did the training, you put the infrastructure in, and look, and that all came from, good planning and looking out 3 to 4 years out, which is now. Back then, and you guys have done a great job of putting this stuff in place so that we're ready, so that you can send multiple crews out and still staff the district and not beat everybody to death by doing it, and good equipment that's able to go out, provide a service out there, and then obviously we compensated for that, but all of that, that's just good stuff, man, and I know that we've learned a lot, you've learned a lot, and we're gonna do more good stuff, but it was pretty cool, just sitting there with my wife looking at the stupid app, and we're really proud of you guys. All of you guys are making good choices and following the data and following the trends and taking risks. I mean, you look at all of our, we talk about other fire departments around the state, they don't have the money to take the risk, or they don't, and now they're hurting, they're calling for mutual aid. We had, I guess something I should probably bring up. One of the things that we had in the state, I can't remember, at one point, Brian, we had like 21 or 18 states represented in Oregon, is that right? 17 or 18 states, firefighters from different states in Oregon.
I haven't heard that, but quite likely hitting all the crews.
I think it was
out of state.
17 or 18 states in Oregon fighting fires. So, and none of them are in Clackamas Fire districts. But anyway, I just wanted to say that. Hey, I gotta go back on something. I wanted to tell you something I forgot. Through the OFD, I got contacted by Kenton. And we've lost 2 firefighters, maybe 3 now, firefighters in the state, 2 for sure, I think 3 now, that are not from Oregon. And so what we started doing through Kenton and OPDA is we're working with the Oregon State Fire Marshal's Office and BPSST to have some sort of recognition and or memorial for firefighters that died in the line of duty in the state of Oregon that are from outside of the state. Got a real nice letter from the assistant to the governor about 2 weeks ago that was actually addressed to Kenton, but he forwarded it to me. But basically gave their approval to do it. So we're working with DPSST, Oregon State Fire Marshal's Office, Governor's Office, and all that's happening now. So more to come on that, but it's unfortunately part of the travesty of these wildfires is people are dying that are not firefighters from the state. So that's short things.
I concur about the events, great coverage of the summer events, everything that I've seen, Sandy Mountain Festival Parade. I worked the morning celebration and we had chiefs and John drove the boring antique engine in the world's longest parade, 1 block. And volunteers were there, got to meet some of them. So that was good. I saw the Congo line. My first reaction was, wow, they're like part of the community, blending in. People loved it. The lady tried to give them a margarita, they turned it down. So that was good. So, but yeah, everything that I've seen has been great. So it's a good job.
Kenton just texted me and said, he's obviously on the meeting. He said, I had a great conversation with DPSS today, smiley face. So
Thank you, Ken.
Thanks, Ken.
Kent was at the morning celebration too. Got to talk to him. Any other questions from Chief? So next up, Office of Strategic Services Assistant Chief Stewart.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. A few things just to cover with you today. Going back to maybe add a little bit of detail to one of the comments that Jeff made during his presentation about the Government Ethics Commission, the public meetings law requirement. So there's been challenges with the state rolling out their tire training. And with that, SDAO being able to have their training vetted. And that's probably not gonna happen prior to November 1st, which is the deadline for our best practices checkoffs. So unfortunately, what I think that's gonna end up meaning is we're gonna have you folks do online training for SDAO between here and there over September and October. And then that won't qualify to meet the state requirement. And so still, once during your term, you'll have to do the state OGEC training, which will have more information as that comes around. But just so you know, you can expect to see some online training pushed out to you folks from us here in the next couple weeks. Next to the board, you'll have the board policy review up in front of you the next 2 months, so you can anticipate that. And then from the state-wide work piece on my side of things, working on behalf of the district or OFCA, the ORS 478 or the Rural Fire Protection Task Force completed its work maybe 2 weeks ago. And so that final report is being drafted. It should be available here in September when it's due to the legislature. Also, Director Cross participated in the convening of the fire service back in late June. That report has been drafted. It should be going to the Governor's Fire Service Policy Council on September 5th. So those recommendations will be made at that point, presuming that they endorse the white paper. And then,
Brian, is there any real changes to that draft that they sent out?
I've seen 2 drafts and I haven't seen any substantive changes in content. And then lastly, the Sustainable Wildfire Funding Committee also tasked with bringing some recommendations back to the legislature through a budget note, has been meeting. We've had a meeting last week that kind of consolidated a couple of the work groups between a mitigation perspective and then a response perspective. So we have a meeting on that Wednesday this week. And then they have a subgroup also meeting on Senator Steiner's 4133 bill and kind of that proposal to vet that a little bit before bringing it back to the larger work group. So that bunch of good work is being done on those fronts. And then Director Cross, you mentioned just the piece of out-of-state firefighters. One of the things that OFCA is doing to support all firefighters across the country. There's a local volunteer fire department out in Emmitsburg that has been supporting the families of transportation and lodging for the National Fallen Firefighter Foundation or the Memorial Service. They reached out this year looking for some financial assistance from across the nation, and I think pretty much every state, whether it's the Firefighters Council or the State Chiefs Association, has been contributing to help support that. And then I'll just recognize the OFCA's DEI committee, not really the committee itself, but as we were having some conversations, it came to mind. So really, it's a kudos to Steve Sakaguchi for stepping up from his role in professional development and human resources. He's been serving on the OFCA DEI committee for a few months. So it's exciting to have been in a meeting about that last week, about where they're heading with the trajectory there. And then just like OSFM put in some staffing for firefighter safety and health, they also recently hired a gentleman named Troy Davis, who is the state fire marshal's DEI individual. So some resources there that we're contributing to, and that certainly we'll see some pieces from. And then lastly, I'd just like to touch on a few projects that Denise shared that facilities have been working on. So between us and training, we've been engaged with our architects, SEA, on the training center and their warehouse remodels. And so we've been doing bi-weekly meetings for the last about month. We have, I think, one more meeting as we're finalizing what those designs are going to look like. Some exciting things ahead, address those. Fiscally being conservative in that, and then also making sure that we're getting the functional pieces that we need for today and moving into the future, so we get value out of those dollars that we're putting in. We just had Station 10's roof completed. That came in at about $93,000 to get that done. We walked it this morning with the contractor. They've got a few pieces they're gonna clean up that they knew about, blow the roof off, and then they're gonna return a little bit of siding up on kind of the front entryway. That had some water damage, and they're just gonna get button that up, of course, as well, which is nice. And then coming up on the 21st, so later this week, our architect bids for Station 12 work are due. So we're excited to walk through and see what those come through with. And then the Health and Wellness Office is moving from the training center to Station 3 on the 28th. Happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Brett?
Can I have just one small go back? And this is something that I wanted to hit on, but talk with Brian. I really love that he just grabbed a lot of what Steve was going to talk about. That really makes me excited. But I want to call attention, and I failed to do this in the June board meeting, but we had 4 members within Clackamas Fire that were on the governor's fire service policy subcommittee on behavioral health and safety that Jeff spoke about. And they received the award of excellence at the Oregon Fire Chiefs Conference in May. So it was really, really cool. Assistant Chief Brian Stewart, who actually was the lead on the project. And then Health and Safety Chief Heather Goodrich, Fire Marshal Sean Wilson, and Chaplain Mike for Mace. So just really, really cool that they were recognized for all their hard work and countless hours in partnership with other organizations, but to create what you're kind of seeing from you from Jeff. So sorry about that, but wanted to recognize Brian, and I forgot about it.
All right, thank you, Brian. And I need to correct myself on something too. I said I worked the morning celebration. It was the morning bell day. Steve was gonna correct me on that, so I beat it. Morning bell day. The introduction that Steve Bates, the big community.
You're welcome, Steve.
Yeah.
9 years ago, I got Steve out of the morning and bell days a little early. He got a truck caught on fire. The true crews had to roll out, put it out.
Yeah, that was awesome.
I remember that. And the Boring Gold Day event, it's great. Steve Bates really goes out of his way to recognize the department. So even myself and Kent did the invocation. They went through a little spiel of recognizing all of our personnel that were there and the people clapping, so it was really good to see. So next up, Office Business Services, Assistant Chief Peters.
Thank you, President, Steering members of the board. As Brian mentioned and Nick mentioned most of this, but I'll just kind of glance over a little bit of it. Health, wellness, and safety is preparing to move. We're moving into Station 3. We'll have a permanent home. They'll be out of the training center, out of the training schedule. That will allow more training time. Anyway, that this is going to be a significant move for our future and having a place for them to go and do all of the wellness stuff for your volunteer folks. Community services, we talked a lot about that. Yes, they've been moving and shaking and making sure that attendance happens and that we get out into the communities. They're also beginning to plan off Santa. I know everybody's excited to hear that in August, but you have to start kind of now. So we'll share more of those details as those come available. And then also they worked with Shelby, and you guys should be getting notifications of different events. And it's just an FYI for both the Clackamas board and the Sandy board. As we attended that IGA meeting, some of the conversation was around not knowing what's kind of going on. So you'll get these invites. Doesn't mean you have to go or not. It's just so that you're informed of what's happening around the fire district and the contracted areas. So you'll get Gladstone, Sandy, things like that. So instead of just picking and choosing, we just thought we'd send it to all board members. Yeah. You guys can decide whether you want to be part of it or not, or work with us. And then human capital, they are working on civil service processes for battalion chief and fire inspector. Those are the next 2 lists that we have going in front of them. And they're also reviewing a program for employee reviews. We don't currently have anything really permanent in place right now for employee reviews, so they're working on that. PIO is social media. You've heard from Tracy, working on the branding and also keeping up the social media front for us. And then they completed a recruitment video for our Lateral AI. You might have seen that on Facebook. So they worked with a local person to put that together. Pretty high quality. I thought it worked really well. Didn't generate a ton of interest, but it did generate some interest. We're really late to the game with that because it was so close to the closing, but still worked out pretty good. And then it also created a connection with a videographer that we didn't have before, so may use in the future. And then the Sandy contract still continues to go very, very well. We get lots of great feedback. The career and volunteer folks really engaged in the communities, and we're also staying engaged with a lot of the local groups, so the Kiwanis, the Rotary, things like that. So that's the end of my report. Happy to answer any questions.
The videographer that you mentioned that we made a connection to, is it that kid out in Estacada?
Yeah, it is.
He does really good stuff, but I've seen,
Yeah.
he did some stuff with Estacada, and I was like, wow, he's good.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Steve. Next up, Office of Financial Services, CFO, Whitaker.
Okay, good evening again. I'll be pretty brief tonight because the finance report beginning on page 13 is a repeat of last month. Some of the numbers have been updated a little as we finalize year end. In fact, the auditors were here today and are here again tomorrow to work through their final preparations and going through our books. Anyway, we ended the year, last fiscal year in good shape with a surplus that'll add to our ending fund balance. All that was projected given some of the one-time revenues that we had in the fiscal year, but nonetheless, that's good news. Beyond that, the only other thing I would add is you may recall 2 years ago, we got an AFG grant for cardiac monitors. Those have all been purchased and put into service. And we were asked by FEMA Region 10 to do a kind of desk audit of our procedures in receiving and implementing those funds. And they came back and found no issues of non-compliance. So that was a positive result. So I just wanted to thank Chief Huffman and Michael Wong, who were the leads on that for doing all the due diligence and getting the documents back to FEMA to result in that. So that's all I had to present tonight, unless there's any questions.
Thank you. Next up, Office of Emergency Services, Assistant Chief Mueller.
Perfect, thank you. I'll start off with Chief Huffman. He's give a quick little EMS report. Take advantage of him being here in person.
Sure. Thanks, Dan. Mr. President, members of the board, a couple quick things about EMS. We've talked to you in the past. Excuse me. The nurse navigation system, which is I guess you could say it's an add-on to the 911 system, will be launching next month on the 17th, the day after the next meeting. Just giving you a heads up, and we'll be sending some documents out this week to refresh everybody's memory. But in essence, it is the goal of getting people, our citizens, the right care at the right time with the right resource. And what that means is if someone calls 911 and the triage results in something that is not as acutely an emergency as might be needed to send the fire engine or a heavy rescue or ladder truck, they will redirect them to a nurse service and they'll question them deeper. They'll find out what's wrong. They'll set up an appointment. They'll get them a lift ride and they'll help that person get access to the care that we've kind of defaulted to over the last couple of decades, and which is impacting our abilities to be ready for bigger emergencies. So the rollout of this is really instrumental. It's going to help our rigs be in service a little bit longer. It'll help our ambulance systems be a little more available, and it'll get people the care they need. So we're really excited about this, and we hope that it continues in the county and shows its worth. And I believe you'll support it after we see the results that have been echoed in other agencies. So super happy to get that going. Related to that, the triad of going after call availability and right sourcing our resources is the community paramedic program, which Alicia is the first step in our grant program to do a 2-year pilot study on seeing how we can do that a little better and see if we can free up some time of our people to train and prepare and be ready for for the bigger emergencies. Really excited about this. It's an unusual thing in the fire service because it's not necessarily an emergency. It's about taking care of the community in a different way. So much more to come on that, but we're really excited. And to end with, like Steve said, there's a lot of moves going on. The EMS staff has moved to the building behind Station 4. We're looking for a nickname for it, so anybody out there, that's a decent name, we'll take it. But the old 400 building, the old dispatch, there's a lot of history to the building. Some people call it the bunker because it's built so tough. But all the EMS staff, with the exception of myself, which I'll remain in the ops hallway, will be staffed out there. They moved. So, and the report, any questions, I'm glad to answer.
Strong work, Rick.
Yeah, thanks, Rick. And just to segue in, Chief Dieters and Ryan hit it as well with the moves with Walnus over to Station 3. Everything we're doing strategically aligns with what our levy promise is, with the call reduction, leaving the heavy assets available. We're full throttle on keeping crews available in quarters as much as we possibly can. So that's kind of our push here. So with that, Rescue 301, our number one focus right now is getting prep for that to be staffed in January. Station 12, summer of 2025. And we are doing promotional testing, entry level, everything we possibly can to kind of keep up with the pace of the levy. So it has been, even though we're planning about 18 months out, it is still just rapid fire pushing people through the ranks here. So just quick update on training and ops. So Academy 2402 starts September 4th. There's 17 people in that academy. And then training is really putting a focus right now. Training and ops putting a focus on the professional development. We've built a flow path for our organization. We've updated a flow path, which really just promotes leadership training and more wildland training for those that are promoting up through the ranks. Wildland, I'll hit on this real quick. I got a lot of numbers for you. To date, we've had 93 people in our organization be deployed on fires, 13 conflagrations in the state of Oregon. The record is 14, that was in 2020. We have been part of Clackamas Task Force 8, Task Force 10, Task Force 24, 35, 42, 49, and 57. And they're calling it right now, the state fire marshal's calling us like in the halftime of fire season. So we'll see what the second half brings. There have been a total in the state of 66 task forces, 5 strike teams, and that is more than we put out in 2020. 1.7 million acres burned and costed $26 million. With all that, the state's only lost 32 primary structures and 95 outbuildings. So the support by everybody in the region, Clackamas Fire, Clackamas County, everybody in the state has helped push that out. We've had an IMT member, Crew 30, or Clackamas County Resources on every one of the 13 conflagrations in the state so far. So pretty crazy. In Crew 30 right now, they're just finishing up their 14-day roll in the town Gulch fire. And then just to close the loop on some of the major things that are going on, Jay even spoke to it. We haven't had anything in Clackamas Fire yet. We have a mutual aid agreement with Wasco County. We did send resources, 3 Type 1 engines as a mutual aid to the Dalles a couple weeks ago. Request, they had a wildfire that got into, they thought it was gonna get into a grain silo, it got into a storage unit, and they were about to evacuate their jail. And so we sent resources over there. They were back by, they worked all night, we're back by shift change. We had expanded mutual aid into Washington County for the fire that they had in Gaston. And then let's see, we had, on our border, we had the 4-acre call right up against our border that triggered the level 3 evacs. And so ended up having ODF helped and OSFM help coordinate the Type 1 ship to help work that bank on Highway 99, which you can't get people into. Couldn't see it, couldn't get people into it, but we had resources there throughout the night and into the next day. So been super active. We have not had anything happen in our fire district yet. Stay tuned for September's.
They get a fire cause on that one down there?
I have not heard. Yeah, I have not heard. I'm happy to take any questions.
I found it interesting how in 2020, no one knew what these level of evacs meant, and there was so much confusion, and people were like, what? Now everybody knows, and then you hear the news level, and everybody knows exactly what that means.
They got an app now that even gives you the air quality. Not only that,
But it's come a long way, it's
Yeah.
education to the public.
my watch dude, he's firing all the time, telling me what's going on.
Okay, any questions? Thank you.
You bet.
Next up, professional firefighters, local 1159, Vice President Gordian.
He had to,
Must be on.
he had to unfortunately, he's not gonna be able to attend.
Okay, so we'll hear from him next month. Volunteer Association report, Volunteer President Johansson.
Thank you very much, President Searing and directors, ladies and gentlemen, the director of the board. To build off what Jerry has talked about and Chief or Director Hawes has talked about, Brenner family, I learned about, I was out of town on vacation with my family, and the social media stuff happened, and it was like, my wife asked me, it's like, hey, didn't you volunteer with them? And yes, I was a volunteer in Sandy with John, volunteered with him for 3 or 4 years, and super good guy, very tragic things that happened to their family and those poor kids. So as soon as I got back, I talked to Kenton, and we made a plan to donate what we could as board of directors. And then Kenton talked with Jerry, and then we're working on getting the funds to them. And then in the meantime, they have stepped up and then forwarded the funds from us to the family. So we were to follow up and get the funds back to the Emergency Services Foundation. So very sad, and man, he was a good guy. So, but moving on, working with some of the stuff going on with the volunteers. John has been working with Old Red, getting a lot of things fixed up, getting ready for Operation Santa Claus. Working on some of the trim and some of the minor things that just help keep it together. We got Santa's sleigh that's gonna get worked on a little bit. It's gonna get reupholstered. I don't know the status of that tonight. But then a lot of the woodwork has been donated, and work to trim all the wood and have it prepped and ready for us to put back in the hose bed is gonna be done soon. So we worked on getting some money to John so they could make some temporary benches in the back hose bed for the safety fair. Is that right now? So that way we have some seating that's somewhat in there for temporary uses like that. And then going on to information from volunteer coordinator Brian Cargo. Yes, as you heard, Station Step Forward is staffed 31 nights. And Station 21 and 2 have been staffed 17 out of 31 nights combined. So volunteer water tenders keep killing it on responses. Out of 20 dispatches, we've got 20 responses and 12 actual arrivals on scene. So the guys are really getting out there and getting the equipment out. And then volunteer rehab, we have 8 dispatches with 8 responses and 7 actual arrivals. Volunteer training, we're kind of wrapping up, but still working on a lot of wildland training on the brush rigs, especially with the newer guys. And then on our Wednesday night drills, we're focusing more on getting back to the basics for initial fire attack stuff. So entry, hose deployment, fire attack, and such. So in July, we had a lot of events. We had the Happy Valley 4th of July celebration, and then we had the 4th of July standby for the fireworks area. A little bit later, we had the Sandy Mountain Festival parade. Then we had the Sandy Mountain Festival booth at the event, and then I helped out with the MDA that morning. And then we had the end of the year Explore barbecue. And then we just participated with the Days in Damascus. So with the Explorers, it's reported that they conducted 15 spark hire interviews for the 2024-2025 Explorers. And then our current roster is 19 suppression, 12 water tenders, 6 rehab, 3 chaplains, we have 9 on a leave of absence. If you have any other questions? That's all I have tonight.
Thank you, Joe. Yeah, thank you, Jerry.
Yeah.
I talked to Jaden and Justin and Nasaka Sunday morning, and they wondered what they were gonna do. Said, you guys, your dad was part of the community, he'll be okay.
Yeah. Yeah, he's a good guy. I appreciate his time that he was able to donate to the Sandy Fire District and be a part of our group and become part of our brotherhood and really missed.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Joe. We had a whole bunch of correspondence items, a whole bunch of news articles. So any comments on any of those? And anything else? Any other directors have anything to add? Any staff, anything we missed? Nothing to add? Anybody? So the next board of directors meeting will be on Monday, September 16th, 2024 at 5 p.m. here in this station. The meeting will be hybrid with the public invited to attend either by remote video conference or in person at Station 5. The regular board of directors meeting is now adjourned at 6:55 p.m.